Welcome everyone. Today I have the opportunity to introduce to you the members of Hands Across the Caribbean Advocacy Group. The members are Crystal Baptiste, Trishelle Antoine, Colleen Delafish, Luty Edward Strong, Nico Cook, and myself, the group leader, Natisha Brathwaite. Hands Across the Caribbean is a non-profit diverse advocacy group which was started by 6 early childhood educators from the Caribbean who are very passionate about children's needs and well-being. This group was created to highlight issues affecting young children. These issues surrounding children within early childhood age from birth to 8 years old, whose shelter, security, nutrition, and education are being affected by the recent COVID-19 pandemic. The foundation of our advocacy group is based on the UNCRC 1989 Declaration of the Rights of the Child, Article 27, which states that all children have the right to food, clothing, a safe place to live, and to have their basic needs met. Article 28, which states that children should have access to an education. In March 2020, the Caribbean, like the rest of the Western world, was devastated by COVID-19. The pandemic has caused and continues to cause families to struggle to provide the basic needs for their children. Considering this, it is this advocacy group belief that if the members of the Caribbean community were more aware of the plight of our children during this global event, we could effectively prevent and avert many of the negative outcomes to young children during the pandemic. It is vital that each child's basic needs, shelter, food, education, and security are met, especially now because all of these provisions are leading factors and play a major role in helping children to develop positive life outcomes. During a pandemic, children's basic needs can be affected by 2 major factors such as job losses and sicknesses. Hands Across the Caribbean is based on 4 core values, which are quality, to provide a quality advocacy group while sharing information with the people of the Caribbean and ensuring that children's basic needs are being met. Love for children is the heart of the creation of this group. Trust, people can trust us to keep their information confidential. Commitment, to stay committed to bringing about awareness and educating the citizens of the Caribbean about the importance of meeting children's basic needs. The impact we want to make is by educating people and sharing material on why children's basic needs should be a priority, advocating policies throughout the Caribbean, which assures children the ability to access services and opportunities for development, and source funding to supply children with technological devices for school, partnering with community groups in the various Caribbean islands to provide training to help children and families to navigate the technology that is being used in school. Bring about awareness for the signs to look for when children are being physically, emotionally, or mentally neglected.
Thank you, Natasha. This evening, I'll be looking at the advantages of food in early childhood. Because we are in serious times with the COVID pandemic, no child should be rejected food. Food is very important to children as it contributes to their physical and intellectual development. A balanced meal must always contain the right amount of nutrients that is needed for growth. 2. The right to enjoyment to the highest attainable standard of health. This was retrieved from the Convention on the Rights of a Child, Article 24. Eating healthy for children helps them stabilize their energy when they play. Healthy eating can also help a child maintain a healthy weight and also improve their mind when in the classroom and home setting. And I now hand you over to Luty.
Thank you. Food security refers to the lack of food or sufficient quantities of quality food needed for good health. The closure of schools negatively impacted over 350 million children, according to UNICEF 2020. It is believed that school meals were potentially the only meal or snack many children had for the day and this contributed significantly to their daily nutrient intake. We have to act now. The results of children not receiving adequate food could remain with us for up to 10 years, according to Gelner 2018. These effects include impaired memory functions, decreased readiness for kindergarten, lower test scores in math and general achievement, poor reading performance as early as kindergarten, issues with physical and emotional health. Help us to provide nutritious meals for our Caribbean children. I now pass you on to Crystal, who will look at the impact of shelter on children.
Thank you. During this pandemic, the importance of shelter is voiced since many children around the Caribbean have to engage in learning remotely. The importance of shelter is that young children deserve to feel safe, protected, and away from danger and bad conditions. Sufficient space to learn and develop by fostering an area that will make them feel comfortable and engage in active learning remotely. The state has the right to intervene by providing adequate housing once these terms and conditions are not fulfilled by parents and caregivers. The disadvantages of shelter are insufficient space that prevent the child to engage in free play and proper learning, lack adequate hygiene opportunity, meaning poor sanitation that can cause health issues, and lack proper infrastructure to support remote learning on a daily basis. I now pass you on to Trissel, who will discuss the impact of education during this pandemic.
Thank you, Crystal. Now we will speak about the advantages of an early childhood education during this COVID-19 pandemic. According to Article 28 of the Convention of the Rights, it states that each child deserves the right to education. Age between the ages 0 to 8 is the best years of a child's life when they're able to learn the basic skills necessary for life. In a survey done with UNICEF and the World Bank, it was found that early childhood level was most negatively impacted within all the levels of education. This is according to the new drive to protect early childhood education in the context of COVID-19 2020. According to Sharon 2020, the advantages of an early childhood education are as follows. Number 1, children are carefully nurtured within this age. Due to the age of the children, early childhood educators understand that children within this age must receive a foundation to reach to the other levels. Lastly, a country's economy is strengthened. Now we will speak about the disadvantages of children not attaining an early childhood education. First, children's physical and emotional needs are not met. Children will not be able to express themselves or cooperate with others. This is according to What is an Early Childhood Education 2020. Next, we will look at the impacts of COVID-19 on education. According to Eyewitness News 2020, the Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has implemented policies to ensure that early childhood education continues during the COVID-19 pandemic. First, they have implemented that each child will receive a laptop. What can be done to continue or to ensure that children receive an early childhood education during the pandemic? First, there can be strategic plans implemented and continue to receive an education, and also be policies implemented that will assist families who have children with special needs. Handing over to Nicole.
Hi, I am Nicole Cook. an early childhood educator serving as a security specialist with our advocacy group. I will be sharing with you the importance and impact that security plays in the lives of our children across the Caribbean. Firstly, under our security portfolio, we look at the prevalence of violence and its prevention. And secondly, child abuse in all forms, albeit sexual, physical, emotional, and even neglect. It is true that today the world has seen great improvement in countries acknowledging child rights and protection. However, more needs to be done because despite this global acceptance of the rights of children, the need for the recognition of the harmful effects of violence and children's maltreatment is still lacking. So, with that, we are relentless in our efforts to assist agencies, entities, NGOs, and governments to endorse home visits on our children. Also, we see the need and the importance to educate our parents on how to identify risk factors and at the same time doing everything they possibly can to reduce this risk so that children are not maltreated. Hands Across the Caribbean believes that the early childhood sector is a great place to start for a solution. Our advocacy group can relate to the recommendations made by Black et al. 2017, who stated that early childhood teachers should get appropriate training in how best to manage the classroom, which has a direct link to reducing aggression towards children and violence amongst them. Therefore, the early childhood sector can serve as the ideal platform for violence preventative interventions. Next, allow me to share just one advocacy impact that security has. So remember earlier I explained that we focus on all types of abuses of children. Let me open the windows a bit for you to understand an offshoot of emotional abuse. Since our inception, we have assisted 3 Caribbean countries to pass regulations relating to visitation rights. Why? Parents at times are incarcerated, or children up to age 8 are in state care for juvenile offenses. How does our advocacy group come in this picture? We assist governments to write and pass regulations to guide family visitation rights policies for juvenile centers so as to promote and maintain healthy relationships for young children in these 2 situations. So, stakeholders, government representatives, civil rights litigators, or advocacy group can assist you in writing those policy papers so as to pass the necessary regulations in your houses of parliaments. I will now hand you over to Natisha.
Thank you, Nicole. The purpose of this advocacy group is to underpin and safeguard current issues surrounding children in the early childhood during this current pandemic. Throughout this assignment, Hands Across the Caribbean has demonstrated that a pandemic is unpredictable and consists of many uncertainties, which can be scary for our families. Each child is required to attain basic needs to ensure that they live a fulfilled life. Early childhood education plays a vital role in a child's development. Through funding, children can retain the foundation for a healthy, safe, nutritious, and an educational life throughout this pandemic. Hands Across the Caribbean Advocacy Group has demonstrated through its core values that quality, love, trust, and commitment must be at the forefront of assisting children within the early childhood age. Therefore, it is important that all Caribbean citizens are educated and an awareness is made about the importance of each child's basic needs during this period. Each individual can play an instrumental role, whether big or small. So let us join hands across the Caribbean and help secure our children's future.